Greetings, this is Noblecale from noblecale.com. I've got here a game called The Factory, and it's an educational game by Sunburst, and it's for the 2GS. I'm not sure whether it came out for any other platforms. I haven't actually been able to find out any information on it because The Factory is such a generic term, and in fact when I googled it earlier it kind of came up with some site about girl games, and I'm not quite sure whether that's hentai games or just games for girls. Either way, it's definitely not the one that we're about to talk about. So don't bother Googling it. You won't find it. And the idea of it is pretty much a case of you assemble a factory assembly line full of various pieces of factory equipment. And I'll just show you what I mean by that. But first, we'll have a quick chat about the menu screen. Okay, so nice logo, nice bounding box. It's got a good look and feel to it. Nice highlighting of which number. So I can actually type in a number and it will skim to that, but I have to confirm with the enter key. Mostly because loading times are a bit of a pain when this game was made, so confirming decisions before you go off and tie up the asset for quite a while is a good idea. You've also got end, which I think will reboot you, but to be honest, you never used to do that with 2GSs. You used to just turn the bastard off. Okay, so what we've got here is test a machine, build a factory, make a product, descriptions, and end. We'll go over to descriptions. Nice transitions. Okay, so this actually runs through what all the different options on the menu are. These are the kind of things that you had to have before tooltips were invented. I'm going to go test a machine. Okay, and then it tells you how to manipulate the menu down here. 3 different machines: punch, rotate, and stripe. I'm going to go with stripe. And then the width of the stripe, so thin, medium, thick, and this will take me back, obviously. I'll go with medium. Cool. So what it's done is you start off with a blank square, and then it goes through the process of the machine and it labels it. Each machine has a different graphic, and then it tells you the actual details of the machine underneath it, which makes presentation a lot easier, as you'll see when we get to an actual factory line. So what that's done is applied a medium green stripe. Unfortunately, you can't choose the colors, although since this doesn't use actual graphics, it does sort of processing on the fly, I would guess. That's something that they could have put in, but I'm sure that would have increased complexity far too much. Yes, I'll test another one. Okay, let's try punch. And, I don't know, circle or square. Go with squares, and we'll go with 2. I love the picture for this. Beautiful. Alright, so I think that rotate will basically do pretty much the same thing. We'll have a quick look at it anyway. What you may have noticed from that previous machine was that it had a 2 and a square next to it, so that even told me what it was. So it saved on graphical assets because they only needed 1 asset per machine type, and then it provided all the information in a little label underneath it. We'll go with 135. And I love that animation. That's just so cool. It even goes thick, narrow, thick, as if you are actually seeing a square being rotated from the sides. Okay, so, and that shows me the nice little arrow indicates exactly how much it's rotated. Okay, so let's do it. Now there are 2 things from here. So that's testing a machine. So that's kind of like your tutorial, and it's done so well in that it just gives you an option and it says, here's a machine. Do you want to see what it does? It doesn't force you to do anything. Everything's optional. Build a factory. which is basically slap down some machinery and see what it kicks out at the end, or make a product, which is kind of a challenge where it says, here's a product, I want you to produce it for me. So why don't we try that? Okay, easy is really easy, so I'm going to go with medium, and you can watch me embarrass myself. So here it presents me with a product. Okay, so that looks like a thick stripe and a square, a single square punch. I think we can do that. We'll start off with the stripe. And then we'll just do a punch. Sounds good to me. Perfection. Right, so when it basically comes down to it, is easy is really easy, and medium seems to be 2 operations. So I think we'll go with hard. No. Boom. Oh, okay. So here's something interesting in that you will notice that let's have a quick look at this. First off, it would come in and then it would do these ones first, and then I would do this one last, because otherwise I would have to rotate it back. Another thing to notice is that the horizontal line is thicker than the circle, but the vertical line is thinner than the circle, which means that one's a thick and one's a medium. So bear with me as I try and remember to do this right. So I got my 3, then a medium, then I got to rotate it. Hopefully I rotate the right direction, although it doesn't really matter, because if it rotates 90 degrees left or 90 degrees right, that's still going to be the same because it's symmetrical. And then I've got to put down another stripe, but it's got to be thick. Please. Yes? Yes. Perfect. Okay. Anyway, so let's make a custom one, because obviously that's just not complex enough. Okay, I'm just going to make some things up. I like... Oh, whoa. Actually, no. Kill that one. Yes. Punch. What I want to do is I want to have 2 circles on the outside and a square in the middle. But I'll do the square in the middle after. Rotate at 45. Then a stripe, thin one. And we'll rotate it another 45. So now I've rotated 90 degrees. I'm going to punch in some more circles. Another 45. Okay, so now I've rotated a total of 135 degrees, and I've got diagonal stripes on there, and I've got orthogonal circle punches. I can't remember what happens if you put a square punch over a circle punch. And if I leave it like that, it will still be in a diamond sort of shape, so I'm going to rotate it back again. Another 45. Bit of a pity, I wanted more stripes in there. Bam! Perfect. Absolutely smashing. I did kind of want a square single punch in the middle, but obviously I ran out of operations, but I think that's pretty good. So this was a game for the 2GS called The Factory, and there's a few interesting things about it in that it presents all the information that someone needs. I haven't seen this thing in like 20 years, and I picked it up in 5 seconds, and I was able to basically get every challenge right. It has an interesting approach to divulging information in that it shows what kind of machine we have, the number of operations, and what type of operations it's going to do, like what subtype, circle or square punch, the rotator, and what angle it's going to rotate. And the funny thing about the rotation is that it will always do it the same direction, and that little tutorial or testing of a machine teaches you to keep in mind which direction it's going to rotate. So it basically takes care of that for you. It doesn't actually matter though, because if you have one hole punch, that's in the center. If you have 2 hole punches, that's on the 2 edges. If you have 3, that's the center and the edges anyway. And the stripes go across the whole piece. You can't have an asymmetrical piece. The game subtly reduces its own complexity there. Anyway, and so that's an interesting way in which it sort of hides that. It just doesn't give you the option of punching on the left or anything like that. It just makes it so much easier. It also confirms everything. Oh, hang on. Do you want to challenge someone? I haven't seen that. Yes. Oh, okay, so it takes my product from my conveyor line and then it kicks it into a challenge round. So what you would do is player 1 would make a factory, produce a piece, and then player 2 would obviously, having not seen the previous factory, then have to make it and replicate it. So that's cool. That's a good way of combining the 2 modes, and I really like that, so I'm not going to do it now. But anyway, so it has a couple of interesting elements there. Graphically, it looks great, good look and feel, nice and consistent. And I mean, you have to be with a 2GS game because that's hardware limitations and all that kind of stuff, but they still did a really good job back in the day. I used the phrase back in the day. I don't normally do that, but anyway, moving on. And so, yeah, it's, even though it's an educational game, it's actually pretty fun. And I imagine I'm going to play this just a few more times after I'm done with this video. It's educational in that it creates a sense of process, and if you do this first and then this, then you'll get this. If you swap the 2 processes around, something different might happen. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is if you punch something then stripe it, or whether you stripe it first and then punch it, because I noticed that the circles have little white outlines, and I'm not sure whether it would fill that in. In fact, I think that it would. Let's punch it with a circle, and then we'll stripe it, and then make it nice and thick, and then I just want to see what happens, whether it layers the stripe over the top of the punch. Obviously this isn't going to fulfill the challenge. No, okay, so it doesn't take care of that. When it actually renders it, it clearly does it in the order of rotations, then stripes, then punches. So it's not quite that smart, but it would teach another layer of process logic if it actually did that. But I think that's a bit beyond the product anyway. So yeah, this is one of those educational games that teaches logic and progression and cause and then effect. And so it's really quite good at doing what it does. Anyway, so this was The Factory for the 2GS, and this is Noble Kale from noblecale.com. I will see you at the next game. Bye.